On this episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, I welcome Laurie Meixelsperger to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. Laurie, a retired educator whose greatest lesson wasn't taught in a classroom, it was lived. In 2007, Laurie donated a kidney to her brother, Tim Holmes, giving him the gift of life. Her story is one of love, courage, and the incredible impact of organ donation. This will be a good one. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up wherever you are, whatever you are doing? I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and YouTube at Survive and Thrive 8791. You can follow the podcast and get access to previous episodes on Facebook at Survive and Thrive 8791. The podcast, don't forget to hit that follow button wherever you listen to the show. Leave me a comment if you liked what you heard. If there's a topic or you know a guest who would love to share their story, email me at tdecora@gmail.com. Glad you could join us. Our mission is to share stories and conversations that make you cry, laugh, and think, stimulating emotions, creating laughter, and inspiring the mind. A new episode will air on Monday and Thursday morning featuring a wide range of guests. The podcast will touch on many subjects such as, but not limited to, grief, loss of a loved one, recovery, professional setback, mental illness, success despite challenges, etc. Our guests will share how they learn to survive and thrive. I have a conference reminder before I introduce our guest. I'd like to highlight the upcoming Survive and Thrive 8791 Mental Health and Recovery Conference taking place in Madison, Wisconsin. Join us on Wednesday and Thursday, October 29th and 30th, 2025 at the Ho Chunk Nation Madison branch office. This powerful two-day event will feature several speakers who will share their stories through mental health and addiction challenges and how they learn to survive and thrive. You can register for the conference on our website. If you're a business or an advocate for mental health and recovery, we invite you to partner with us through sponsorship opportunities. Our website is surviveandthrive8791.com. This is where we get into our guest and episode intro. Man, according to the internet, and the internet is always right, correct, Laurie?
Yes.
Yes. That was a firm yes. I don't need the internet in my house. I don't need Google. I don't need Alexa. I don't need Gemini. I don't need Siri. I have my wife, Sarah, and she's always right. Ooh, there's stunned silence. According to an AI, artificial intelligence overview in 2023, over 6,900 people became living organ donors in the U.S., according to Donate Life America. These donors, mostly donating kidneys or portions of their livers, enable thousands of transplants each year. While living donation offers a more immediate transplant option, decreased donation also plays a crucial role, with 16,336 individuals donating organs upon death in 2023, and that's according to OPTN. Today, I welcome Laurie Meixelsperger to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. Laurie grew up in Argyle, Wisconsin, and attended Argyle High School and is a proud Oriole. After high school, Laurie would take her talents to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Laurie would wear a few different hats before landing in the Waunakee Community School District, where she was an elementary teacher for many years. Today, I'm so glad you could join us. Laurie Meixelsperger, what is up?
Hey, thank you for your invitation to this wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you reached out, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the mysteries of life work. But you're here to tell kind of an amazing story that I didn't kind of really know about, but I know a little bit more about you, and something I had heard in a car ride yesterday that I'm going to allude to in a little bit. But before we get to that, let's how's the summer been going? We're almost done.
The summer has been great. I like gardening and I like going for walks in nature. So it's been a beautiful summer for that. A little bit hot some days, and then I'm on the treadmill.
How's that green? Do you have a green thumb?
My husband has a green thumb, and I do the weeds.
So you got dirty fingernails then.
I do.
That's usually a sign of somebody who likes to pull weeds and do all that good stuff. Did you take any vacation this summer?
We didn't take a big vacation, but we did little things within Wisconsin. So I go to Black River Falls to see family, and then also down by Argyle, Monroe, and some trips to like Rock Falls, Illinois, where we used to teach.
Oh, yeah.
And so little trips like that.
How do you unwind? Other than poking around in the garden, what do you like to do to unwind?
I like to walk outside in nature. And then I also like the Brewers and the Packers and the Badgers. I'm fans of all of those teams. And the Brewers are amazing this summer, and watching all of their games. And I guess we went to a game in May for the Brewers.
And how do you like my shirt?
I love it. I love your Robin Yount t-shirt.
My wife and I went to a game I think it was last year, 2 years ago, and they were giving out free Robin Yount t-shirts. And I said, oh, it'd be kind of cool if he were here. And lo and behold, he comes out and threw the opening, like, celebratory first pitch. And
oh, wow.
He was out there, and he still looks like he could play. He was in great shape. And other than some wrinkles on his face, he still looks like the shortstop and center fielder.
Amazing.
Of way back when.
Such talent.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to your story, I need to talk about our sponsor. Our sponsor, Buck and Honey's Restaurants, are a place that people can escape to. For me, it's a great escape from cooking dinner. Laurie, do you cook dinner?
I do cook dinner.
What's your favorite genre, style, or cuisine?
I like to grill, and I like chicken on the grill. I like really clean, healthy kind of cooking.
You're the grill master.
I am.
I love it. With their great food and drink menu, 5-star customer service, and a welcoming and vibrant atmosphere, people keep coming back with locations in Sun Prairie, Monona, Waunakee, and Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. Most communities in Dane County, which encompasses the Madison metropolitan area, can get to a Buck and Honey's within 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm going to do a little drum roll here. Acoustically sound table. Have you been to Buck and Honey's?
I have. I've been to the one in Monona and also the one in Waunakee because I worked there. And I have good friends in Mount Horeb, and they want me to go next to the one in Mount Horeb.
I was mentioning to somebody a couple of episodes ago that they said they've been to all 4 locations, and it would be kind of cool if the owner, and I might try to encourage him to do this, the owner, if he could like give a little punch card or maybe a little token, and your goal would be to hit all 4 places. So maybe we can talk him. So what's your favorite dinner?
I really like when they have restaurant week.
Okay.
And then you get an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert. And their desserts like creme brulee or tiramisu are outstanding. So I like all their food. Their appetizers, their main dishes, everything was delicious that I've had there.
Restaurant week, I believe that's usually in February.
It is, yeah. I really like it.
On the podcast, our guests follow the format for sharing their story like this. In segment 1, we talk about what was it like, Laurie's history, what happened to get Laurie on the podcast. And in segment 2, we continue to talk about what happened, get into what it's like now, and discuss Laurie's 5 suggestions for thriving. So segment 1, what was it like before and what happened? You were raised in Argyle, Wisconsin, small town, USA. What was life like growing up in Argyle, Wisconsin?
It was wonderful, and it's still the same, like 50, 60 years later. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody is friendly. To this day, when I go back there, they'll say, are you your sister? Are you Michelle or are you Patty? And I'm like, no, I'm the youngest girl. I'm Laurie. But everybody knows everybody. It's really a friendly community. One of the things that
when I was going to Platteville and then some 5 to 10 years afterward, maybe longer, is Argyle was known for having the cheapest gas in the state of Wisconsin.
Oh.
And I don't know if you knew that or not, but somebody said, yes, yes, we do.
They also have a really good annual fish fry in the summer and June, and they're really well known for that too.
Cheap gas, and while you're down there, get a fish fry.
Yes.
Tell us about your family growing up, mom and dad and 5 siblings.
Yes, my parents are Ann and Shorty Holmes. They are no longer living. And then my oldest sister is Patty. My next sister is Michelle. Then I have Tom, Tim, myself, and my brother Jim. And my brother Tim is no longer living, and my sister Patty is no longer living. It's a great community, and we had a fun time growing up on a farm.
That's your typical small town family growing up back in the probably 60s and 70s of, and you need some helping hands on the farm, so usually a lot of kids.
Yes.
You have an amazing husband of 37 years and 3 equally amazing sons. Spin some yarns about them.
They are golfers, my sons. So Andreas is 32, Alec and Zach are 30, and then our daughter-in-law, Anna, is 30. And they love to do a lot of golf together on the weekends, and they like to hang out with each other.
Lots of golf.
Yes.
Did they ever get you to go with?
They have gotten my husband to go with, but I haven't gone with them yet.
And so you can hang out in the clubhouse while they're out golfing.
Yes. And they're also runners. They love running.
That's right up your alley, too.
Yes.
You graduated from Argyle High School. We're going to go back in time a little bit. You're a proud Argyle Oriole. What were some of your favorite memories from high school?
The friendships. It's a really small town, and so everybody had to do everything in sports. I did volleyball, cheerleading, track, one-act play, band, and so you become really close with everybody, not just your class if you're a freshman, and even 7th and 8th graders, because they have such small classes there. So the friendships are really strong yet today from my elementary years.
So when we talk about small town USA and a small school, how many people did you graduate with? Do you remember what your graduating class was?
27.
27. Loud and proud 27. It's interesting that some of the guests that I've had on out of the 91 shows now, I've had probably 80 some guests because there were some repeats in there. I've had a lot of small town people, and they talk about just what you said. Everybody knows everybody. The school is so small that we've got to have basketball players come down after practice and be part of the one-act play or the, whatever it's going on. Football players have to, the young ones, they get to stay on the field and they're in their uniform doing the marching band at halftime of the football games while the older kids are going into the locker room. So you're right. People got to do everything in those small schools. After high school, you would take your talents to the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. What was the lure, and did you have any other options?
My sisters had gone to UW Whitewater. They had pursued elementary education. My sister Patty taught first grade in Warrens, Wisconsin for the majority of her career. And my sister Michelle was a librarian and elementary teacher in the West Allis School District.
And so you kind of followed in their
I did.
footsteps. Did you think about going anywhere else? I mean, because you're kind of in between. There's Whitewater over there, and then there's Platteville. You're kind of near.
Yeah, I really liked Whitewater because I was also sometimes working in Monroe and as a waitress at Swiss Colony Inn. And so sometimes on Friday nights, I would drive from Whitewater down to Monroe, work a shift, and then go home to my parents in Argyle.
With degree in hand, you would have a number of jobs, and you graduated with elementary education degree as well as a special education degree, kind of a double major. And you would wear many hats and go near and far before landing in the Wanakee Community School District, where you and I crossed paths many moons ago. Tell us some of your cool jobs that you've had.
I worked for 3 years in Rock Falls, Illinois, and my husband, which was my boyfriend at the time, he was a 5th grade teacher, and I was a learning disabilities teacher. And then that allowed me to get my master's in learning disabilities. And he also was getting his master's in school administration. So we started out in Rock Falls, Illinois, and then we decided we wanted to do a big thing. And we got married in the summer of 1988, and then we went to the American School of Bucharest in Romania. So we had interviewed at the Iowa Job Fair Placement Office, and they have a big fair where they have you come in, and if you're interested in teaching abroad, you can sit down with people from around the world and interview with them. And so we went to the American School of Bucharest, or ASB, and I taught third grade, and my husband taught fifth grade.
So very similar to going and picking Whitewater for school. Did you also, when you sat down with these people that were recruiting, could you pick, well, I want to go to Romania, which is where you went. I want to go to, England. I want to go to Dubai. Did you have a choice, or why did you pick Romania?
We did have a choice. We were offered a position in England, and we knew that the students, and it would be a similar cultural experience. But if we went to Romania, it was an Eastern European country, and we knew that that would be a totally different cultural experience that we probably would never have the opportunity to have again. So we decided on Romania.
And were you teaching American students that were living there, or were you teaching Romanian students?
We were teaching multicultural children from all over the world, and their parents were there at the embassy or at businesses. And then in every country where there's a U.S. embassy, they have to have a U.S. embassy school for the children that are in kindergarten through 8th grade. And so we get to take field trips with our students to Vienna, to Budapest, and we would fly or drive or take the train. And we would go for sports weekend, drama festival, authors weekends, and things like that. It was really an amazing experience.
Okay, because I'm a huge sports fan, and I'm actually kind of not even a closet gymnastics fan. I love watching the gymnastics stuff. Did you ever get an opportunity to meet Nadia Comaneci?
We did not.
You did not.
But we did get to meet quite a few ambassadors and from all over the world, and we still keep in touch with them and their children who are adults now. And so we've gone to Canada to visit friends that are Canadian, and some of the children would speak 5 to 7 languages because their parents were dual nationalities. And so it was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, Nadia was one of the people that I think had a perfect 10
Yes.
in 1976. Because our listeners want to hear the rest of your story, I need to talk about our sponsor one more time. Buck and Honey's has been with the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew since the beginning with their 4 locations in the Madison area. One is always near. People ask why Buck and Honey's. Owner Tom Anderson places a high priority on the mental health of his employees. He has a mental health professional available for them should they need support. I don't know how many businesses go above and beyond their EAP, but Buck and Honey's does. In 2007, your brother, Tim, would start to experience some health issues. Fortunately, you had a teaching colleague of yours that gave you some useful information that would lead you to help your brother. Laurie Meixelsperger will walk us through what her brother's health issue was and how she would play a role in his survival. Please stay tuned. Don't change that channel. You're not going to want to miss segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. We will be back.
If you, a loved one, or someone you know is experiencing a physical, mental, or emotional crisis, there is help and resources out there. Contact NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline, at 1-800-950-6264. This is a free service providing information, resource referrals, and support to people living with a mental illness, their family, providers, and the public. United Way 211 is available 24/7, 365 and offers free confidential assistance. They connect people with the local programs and services that can help. Dial 211. Emergency Crisis Services, dial 911. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline, dial 988. To connect via web, chat, visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Along with those numbers, there is help. You just need to say 3 words. I need help. Now, back to the show.
We are back. Welcome back to segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Tim Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. The podcast is where we feature guests who share their story in hopes of helping others who may be struggling with what life throws at them. Laurie Meixelsperger is here today to share her inspiring story about becoming a living donor in 2007 and how that would play a role in her brother's life. She will share how she has survived and thrived after that. Segment 2. As I mentioned, in 2007, your brother Tim would have some health issues that could cost him his life. Since the show has a mental health component to that, how were you handling your brother's circumstances? Tell us about kind of what you were feeling when he mentioned, and maybe you already knew this as he got older and you got older, something could happen in his life. Tell us a little bit about that and then how you were dealing with that.
So prior to 2007, a couple years before that, 2005, he was noticing that he was tired all the time and that his health just didn't seem right. So he went to his doctor and he learned that he would need a kidney transplant and that his kidneys were slowly going to deteriorate. So when he was telling family that in about 2005, some of us siblings said, well, could we help you out? Could we be tested? And I was working at Prairie Elementary. I worked with you, Tim.
In Wanakee.
At Prairie Elementary.
Prairie Elementary. Shout out to Prairie Elementary and Wanakee Community School District.
Yes. And another colleague was working there too, who had some experience with kidney donation. So I decided to get a blood test, and I'm A positive. And I found out at that time that my brother was also A positive in his blood type. And then there would be more testing that would come if I was interested in being a living organ donor for him. So I kind of was really nervous, and I didn't really know what it was all about. I had never had those experiences before, and so I was anxious. I was sad some of the time because you don't want the living person to feel bad, and I didn't want to discuss some things with my brother Tim, so I reached out to a friend named Cindy, and she was teaching first grade at Prairie Elementary. We both went on to teach at Heritage Elementary in Wanakee. And that year I had all kinds of questions, and she had already given a kidney to her daughter when her daughter was very little as a baby. And she gave me the best advice. She said, pain is going to be extreme, but it should be temporary and you'll be okay. And when she told me that, I thought, okay, I can go through this testing. I can try to find out if I am definitely a match. And so the next year at spring break on like 2006, when we have our spring break in March, I gave up a day, went to the UW hospital. They have you meet with a whole bunch of people and they do all kinds of tests. And at the end of that day, you learn if you are a good match for your sibling or your person that you want to give an organ to, or if you're not a match.
So you are all set up and everything is in place for you to be a living donor. You're alive and you're well. And what I do know a little bit about the living donor stuff now, but typically donations come from somebody who's lost their life or in an accident, and they are put it on their driver's license or check the box, I'm going to donate my organs so that somebody else can receive them. But was there a point with your brother Tim, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit, was there a point where he came in and said, I'm going to need organ donation at some point? What were you thinking about your brother Tim when he talked about, I'm going to need this, and if I don't get this, it's possible that I could lose my life? And so you talked about it, and then you kind of banded together who can help out. When he dropped that, when he let you guys know as family members, hey, I might need this, just wanted to throw that out there. You probably had a lot of questions for him, and what were you thinking about when he told you about that?
We had so many questions because I didn't know, how does one pay for such an exorbitant surgery? And he told me, and my sister Michelle, who offered donation, he said, my insurance will pay for it. He said, my insurance wants to keep me off dialysis. They want to keep me healthy. And I thought, okay, that was the expense of it. I had no idea that that's how it is. And I think the Kidney Foundation is one that often provides the finances for it. Mm-hmm. Even if there is, after the surgery, if you have complications, it's not your own insurance that has to pick it up. It is like something like the Kidney Foundation does that. And that was huge. My family was young. I remember Zach and Alec were about in 5th grade, and then AJ was in 7th grade. And then I also wanted to go to my own doctor to see if there would be a reason I should save my kidney for my own children. So I took those questions to my own doctor or to the kids' doctor and said, and then the doctor said, you can't look into a crystal ball. You won't ever know if your child will need it. But just like I eventually become a perfect match. But just like you're a match for your brother, your children will probably be a really good match for each other. Because each person, like 50% of my genes, 50% of my husband's genes make our children. So he said, you and your brother have 100% the same genes, if that makes sense. So that really helped me, because then I said, just make your decision and don't look back. So I did. I went through the testing at UW Hospital. I met with a social worker, a kidney coordinator, a nurse, a doctor, did all kinds of blood work. They take like a ton of blood. And then at the end of that day, the social worker meets with you last and says, do you have a living will? Have you thought about that kind of thing? And they have you do that if you are going to be an organ donor. And so all those things that you didn't know get answered when you're going through those testing.
I'm so glad that you're on the show today, because somebody randomly, I am listening to Coach Decora's podcast. Now he's got some great guests, and they just happen to stumble upon this one. And you start to maybe inspire somebody to be a living donor, and you're kind of answering all the questions that might start coming up. Or somebody says, hey, I heard you're going to be a living donor. There was this teacher on the Survive and Thrive 8791 podcast that talks about a lot of questions that you're going to need to know. You should just listen to that podcast, because she goes through a lot of things, and you're, I think, going to inspire quite a few people by telling your story today about that. So while you had talked about some fears, some anxiety, some anxiousness, feeling a little blue about your brother's situation, how were you coping with some of that in terms of that anxiety, being a little blue that, if there's not a match, your brother could lose his life? How are you coping?
I think my faith I have a strong faith, and I prayed a lot about it. I also talked to counselors because I believe that counselors can give you a different perspective on things. And I find that talking to people, my one good friend said, we listen to learn, we share to heal. And that was so good because that is exactly what I do. I like talking to others. When I meet a friend, I like making a connection, whether it's through sports or where they grew up or where they're teaching. And I think talking to people is like a sense of therapy for me.
That's good stuff. We need to talk more and more to people.
We do.
So you had all of these meetings with social workers, doctors, counselors, and you are determined to be a good match for your brother. Talk us through that next step of having the eventual surgery.
Yeah. So he said to me, I don't know when it is going to be. The staff there had said 1 to 3 years is where you can be thinking, to give you some timeline. And it was exactly 2 years after I had gotten tested that then he was ready. So in 2006, at the end of that year, he was feeling really tired. He's a farmer, and he would have a hard time working on the farm because he was tired, extremely tired. And he had always been a really hard worker. And then also too, like his face and everything became more peaked, made like grayish. And we could all tell he was sleeping more. He wasn't feeling good. And his numbers, his creatinine level was getting such that they knew that he needed a new kidney. So the kidney coroner gave me a call. And my kidney team of doctors and staff is different than his, because at UW Hospital and everywhere where they do a transplant, they want to keep you healthy and the best life for you, and they want the best life for him. So my kidney coordinator called and said, it's time. Your brother needs a kidney, and we think it's going to be around February 28th is when we can put it on the schedule. It ended up being March 1st because of a snowstorm. And I was ready. I was like, yep, let's do it. And I was really nervous, but thinking back to it, because I had this friend, Cindy Anholt, who was walking me through it. She said, right after surgery, it's going to be extremely painful, but I'll be there. I'll come and see you. My sister Michelle was saying, my husband and I will come and we'll stay with your young children and your family so your husband can still go to work. And I was like, perfect. So my sister stayed for a week when the donation comes up, and she helped by staying overnight at the hospital. And so those things prepared me, and you go to a pre-op visit the day before your surgery, and they do tell you the nitty-gritty of exactly what your pain is going to be all about and what the surgery of laparoscopic surgery is going to be. And so then I was ready. I got up early the next morning and I was ready for surgery.
Kind of like we're going to go into that baseball terminology or whatever. They said, all right, this is the phone call. We're calling the bullpen. we need you, Laurie, to come down and you're going to come in and save the day. You're the relief pitcher. And in this case, you're the relief donor. You're going to donate a kidney. And you mentioned post-surgery kind of a couple of interactions that you had with your dad and then with your brother that kind of made me smile when you were telling me. So make everybody else smile here and tell us what kind of happened after the surgery. And
yes. So after surgery, the donor has a worse situation than the person who got the organ. And I knew I would be in more pain, a lot of pain after surgery. So my sister stayed to bring me ice chips, put chapstick on my lips and
But,
like lotion.
by the way,
Yes.
hospitals have the best ice chips.
They do. They do.
All right, I digress. Go ahead.
No worries. And so after surgery, I go into my room. There's a dozen roses from my brother. There's a beautiful letter from my brother saying, thank you. How could I ever thank you? And he's in his own room. And so I'll go back to the day of surgery. My husband takes me to UW Hospital, and I start an hour before my brother. And so I'm there before him and his wife get there. And I knew an anesthesiologist who lived across the street from me, and he worked on that floor and in that unit. And he said, gosh, he came over to my house the night before, and he said, I can't do your anesthesia because I have a cold, but I know the person who's going to do it. And I said, okay, great. He said, she's a great person. So I joked with the anesthesiologist. Oh, and they were like, oh yeah, we know your neighbor. And anyway, so then I go into surgery, and it basically it's so interesting to me that when you're opened up and they're doing it laparoscopically, they take this little mesh bag and it kind of like shrinks up. And then when it gets in your body, it encompasses the kidney, and they just kind of pull the kidney out of your body, put it in a tray, walk it over to the next surgery room. And then my brother, it gets plopped in him. And they don't take out his kidneys. They leave his 2 kidneys in there, and they eventually dissipate and are non-working. So they kind of shrivel up. And all that type of learning that happened for me in those weeks was really interesting. I'm an educator, so I like learning. But anyway, so when I woke up from surgery, my dad was there, and my dad doesn't always say, I love you. He's a German, stoic kind of man, farmer, down to business. And he looked in my eyes, and I remember kind of opening my eyes, and he said, thank you. And he was crying, and he said, I love you. This is something you shouldn't have to do as a sibling. I am so proud of you. And I said, Dad, I feel awful. This is the worst I've ever felt. I can't even open my eyelids or move a finger or a toe without hurting. It hurts so bad. And he was like, okay, I'll go now. But it was just a beautiful moment. I really don't remember times in my life where my dad made such a beautiful gesture towards me.
But you always knew that he loved you.
Yes.
And you always knew that he was proud, but being a man from that age, they weren't always good at saying or doing those things. And you heard it for the first time in maybe a while.
Yes.
That is such a cool
Yes.
story. After donating then, were you concerned about your own health? Because you just gave up one of your internal organs. You can live with, you don't need both your kidneys, but were you concerned at all about your own health? And during any kind of surgery, you run the risk of infection or something going wrong with the anesthesiology or with the anesthesia. There's all kinds of things which they talk to you about. Were you concerned with anything at all?
I think through prayer, I wasn't really concerned. And I had been a runner. I was really fit. And they kind of told me, I think you'll rebound pretty quickly based on your health. And also to seeing my brother, when my brother was wheeled over, because I was in too much pain to go to him, his face was pink. And it hadn't been a true color since like December when I saw him at Christmas. And I saw my family a lot. And we could tell that he was weak. He was tired. His body was worn out. And with his kidney renal failure. He was just not doing well. And immediately the doctor said, his kidney is awesome. He is doing well. His creatinine level is getting there, and it'll get there in time. And to see him and to read this letter that he wrote to me and sent me the dozen roses, it was just like so gratifying that I really didn't think too much about myself.
I think if you're willing to and you would like to do this, maybe we'll take a picture of the letter and put that in the promo somewhere, that if somebody hears this story and, Coach, can you put the letter somewhere where we can see this, if that's something that you'd be willing to do, just to encourage more people that, hey, I want to be of impact to my family or to somebody else that needs something that I can give up and I can live still and function. I think that would be another thing that would inspire somebody to be a living donor.
Yes.
In addition to yearly physicals, do you have any other things that you still need to be checked on because of giving up, donating?
They check you at a year, at 5 years and 10 years, and they check through blood tests. And mine have all been perfect. This summer, I did do it again. And again, my one kidney is doing really well. So my brother Tim did pass away of brain cancer in 2021 on the first day of school. That episode did cause me some really huge anxiety brought on by grief. And he had had 14 years of life, a really good life. He saw his grandchildren be born and his farm continued to grow and progress. And he had really good, happy years. But I was really sad that he passed away. And that caused me some physical health problems and emotional problems because he passed away. And at that time, I didn't know what it was. So for a few months, I had to take some time away from school and learn about it's not your heart. I wore a heart rate monitor and they ruled out a variety of things. And it was just situational anxiety brought on by grief and extreme grief and trauma. So I had to learn how to cope with emotions. I learned about medications such as lorazepam for extreme anxiety. And I've learned how to live with being an anxious person and learning that even though on the outside I may look calm, relaxed, and feel that way, it must be that on the inside I have some inner turmoil going on at times.
This is kind of a double episode here. We're getting the living donor stuff that you talked about, and then having this situation come up 14 years later, having him lose his life or get diagnosed with cancer that would eventually cost him his life. And you already talked about some of the coping skills. This is such a powerful episode. And again, I'm inspired, a little bit in awe, because I kind of knew some of this. You and I crossed paths several times since our days where we were colleagues at Prairie Elementary, and then you moved to another elementary school and I moved to the high school. But there would be times where we'd cross paths and I'd say, hey, how's it going? And just like you said, you like to talk to people. And I remember you laying out your emotions a few times. And I said, well, yeah, let's continue to talk and lean on one another. And I'm glad you found the coping skills or strategies that so many people lack. You chose to go the healthy route, healthy coping strategies, and some people don't. Where, again, because of almost a double episode here, you're giving a lot of people a lot of stuff today. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I do want to take a look at some of the things you brought today, because you have some quote artifacts. We're not going to talk about them all, but we're going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I'm looking at some T-shirts. So when you become a donor, you get some really cool swag.
Yes.
So you got a couple of T-shirts that are over there. We'll talk about those maybe. Well, we'll talk about them now, T-shirts. But then you get, let's go through, you got a book here that you can recommend to people that are thinking about it. That go ahead and I'll let you talk about the book.
Yes. So a few months after you give a donation, there's a dinner that UW Hospital has. And at the dinner, they give you a medal. And the medal has your name on it. And it says, in honor of Laurie Meixelsperger, who gave the gift of life. So the transplant surgeons have you come up to a stage and they hand it to you. And so it's something that you will have for the rest of your life. And my brother and his wife and my husband and I went to the dinner in October, and it was really delicious. It was at a nice restaurant, and I don't know if they do that anymore, but they gave me that. And then I also got 2 T-shirts. One is green, living donation and organ donation, the color green. I gave us both a wristband to wear.
We got some cool wristbands here. Done Vita and Donate Life.
Yes. And then they also have a T-shirt that says, thank you for the gift of life. And then the book that I got came a little bit later.
I'm just gonna read the title here,
Yeah.
and then you can talk about here. When Death Becomes Life, Notes from a Transplant Surgeon by Joshua Mezrich, Mezrich, and he's a doctor.
And so if you ever wanted to do kidney donation, or if you know of someone who needs bone marrow, eye tissue, anything, this surgeon talks about the gift of life from his perspective, that call that might come in the middle of the night. It might be that the helicopter is bringing in the organ from a death, and it brings life to the person who receives it. And so it's a really good book. And if you're ever thinking about organ donation, it's something that you could read, and it would answer a lot of questions.
Okay, and then the last item we have here is this really cool picture of you had to take a couple of weeks off of work, and fortunately you had a student teacher that was in the area that could come in out of the bullpen and relieve you for a couple of weeks. But the picture says, "We are proud of you, Mrs. Mike." So she is Mrs. Meixelsperger, but that's a mouthful, and try to say that 5 times as fast as you can, Meixelsperger. But I've known her as Miss Mike. And this picture, I'm just going to kind of talk, it's all of the kids in her classroom, and it says, "We are proud of you, Mrs. Mike." And they're all holding up letters. And I didn't realize this until you mentioned this, but the letters are in the shape of a kidney.
Yes.
So talk about that.
That was awesome. So when I had to tell my class that I was going to be gone for a couple weeks, I cried because I love them and I missed them. It was 3rd grade at Heritage Elementary. And my student teacher did a really sweet thing. She cut out these kidneys, and it says, "We are proud of you, Mrs. Mike." And each letter is on a paper kidney from construction paper. So in my times of like moments where I'm kind of not feeling the best or something, when I look at that, it does make me like smile, because it was a really sweet gift from my class.
Some people don't know this, but there are pictures in your phone or a picture on your desk or at home somewhere that if you're feeling blue or anxious or whatever, anything that can change your mind and your thoughts, and that is a beautiful picture of that. And then the fact that they're on kidney cardboard, or not kidney cardboard, but construction paper.
Yes.
This is where the subscribers, followers, and listeners take out the notebooks, pens, and pencils, and they're going to jot some things down. Here are Laurie Meixelsperger, Mrs. Mike's 5 suggestions that have allowed her to survive and thrive while becoming a living donor. and also going through and surviving the death of her brother from cancer. So I'm going to toss these in softball style. Can you hit a softball?
Yes.
Yes. I love it. Yes. Here are the things you said, and I'm going to have you, or sent in, and I'm going to have you hit these in about 60 seconds. So number one is faith, and you already alluded a little bit to this, but faith. Hit that in about 60 seconds.
Just whomever is a bigger person than you that you worship, God, Buddha, to the Native American people, I think it's to the spirits and gods, and your faith. Faith is everything.
Number two, family and friends. Go and hit that.
I leaned on my family, my own family of David, my husband, Andreas, Alec, Zach. Anna wasn't with us at the time because she came later through a marriage. And then also my friends, by leaning on Cindy to ask her questions and for her to give me her true definition of, yeah, it's going to hurt really bad, but you'll get through it.
That's great. Number three, professional counseling. Go ahead and hit that.
You know, you may not get the right person the first time around when you start counseling. And I actually had 2 other ones, and now I'm on a 3rd one. But someone who really understands you and understands your situation. Like now, my counselor is a teacher that left teaching and counseling to do professional counseling because she knew that teachers really have a lot on their plate. So I can relate to her a lot.
And I think the one thing I want to talk about just quick is that counseling and finding a counselor is like dating, in that you might have to go and talk with a counselor and see what the vibe is. And sometimes it just doesn't, jive together until you maybe see 2 or 3 other people and all of a sudden, hey, I got a right fit. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people need to do.
Yes.
Number 4, exercise and mindfulness. Go ahead and hit that.
I always was a runner. I love walking. I love being out in nature. And I just think that clears your head for so many things. I love exercising.
Number 5, give yourself grace. Go ahead and hit that.
So something that happens to you might make you feel like it's going to be permanent. But if you give yourself grace and time and you say to yourself, tomorrow will be a better day. Tomorrow the sun is going to come out and shine. I have other things that can help me cope with this. And my own mental health, I'm going to make that a priority. And I'm going to give myself some grace.
I'm glad you said you prioritize your health. So many years I was prioritizing the health of everybody else, but I wasn't taking care of the most important person, and that was me. And sometimes teachers, and I can't speak for you, but I know when we're giving so much to our kids, we forget to give back to ourselves.
Exactly.
And I'm glad you touched on that as making sure to take care of yourself.
Yes.
What an episode. I'm so glad you could join the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew today. Your story and how you became a living donor is inspiring. Your story reminds us all to have coping skills or mental health tools in the toolbox when a person is met with the challenges of life. Despite that, you have survived and thrived. Our call to action, Laurie Meixelsperger just shared her story about how she endured a time of unknown in her life when her brother started to experience or have a health concern. She sought out counsel from a colleague and became a living donor. Here are Laurie Meixelsperger's 5 suggestions that helped her survive and thrive during that time. Number 1, faith. Number 2, family and friends. Number 3, professional counseling. Number 4, exercise and mindfulness. And number 5, give yourself some grace. Final thoughts as we close another great episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. Are there any final thoughts, Mrs. Mike?
If anyone needs to know about organ donation, I'm happy to be a contact for those people. So if they contact you, Tim, or they find out me through Facebook or something. It's a passion of mine to help other people, and I really would love to talk to you about that.
Absolutely. We'll put her information, email address in there, as well as we'll try to take a picture of all of these little things that she has that she got through the living donor stuff, plus the book, a link to the book where somebody wants to find out a little bit more. But really, listening to the episode, encouraging somebody who you know that is thinking about doing this. I think you laid it out there about how to do it. Most of it, maybe not quite all of it, but most of the journey that you took, and certainly the before, the during, and then the after is, I mean, this is going to help a lot of people, and hopefully it inspires some people to become living donors. On our next episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, we will have another amazing guest in the Buck and Honey's remote studios who will share how they learned to survive and thrive. If you have a story to share or you know someone who does, please reach out to me at tdecora@gmail.com. Until next time, hang in there with whatever you happen to be going through, and with hard work, dedication, and determination, you can survive and thrive. Until next time, take care.